the years of my life, I would say the 20 years of the 3 years of working as an entertainer. It was just time to not take anymore. It was constantly abusive.
What I regretted is that it was ugly to me, and the people found it out.
She stood beneath the spotlight like a goddess carved from fire and fury. Sequins blazing, heels slicing through silence like thunderclaps. Tina Turner wasn't just performing. She was surviving in plain sight. To the crowd, she was untouchable, unshakable, a storm in stilettos. But backstage, away from the screaming fans and flashing cameras, there was a list, a private blacklist that only a few people ever heard her whisper about. 6 names, 6 betrayals, 6 reminders of the world she had to claw her way through. And for Tina, grudges weren't just memories. They were warnings. Because when she hated someone, it wasn't with gossip or drama or cheap headlines. It was with silence. The kind of silence that ends careers. These weren't random enemies. They were icons, legends, people she once trusted, even admired. But when the mask slipped, when the betrayal hit, she never looked back. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She disappeared them from her world with a look, a nod, and a chilling quiet that said everything. And if you knew Tina Turner, you knew this. Her silence was louder than any scream. So who were they? Who were the 6 people Tina Turner never forgave? Why did she cut them off so ruthlessly, so permanently, that their names became ghost stories in her empire? And what do these names reveal about the battles she fought behind the sequins and the spotlight? Stick around, because behind every legend is a list. And Tina's list? It's more explosive than you could ever imagine. Before the world ever heard her name, Tina Turner was Anna Mae Bullock, a teenager with a voice that could shake the sky. And Ike Turner knew it the second he heard her sing. He didn't just see talent, he saw something he could control. At first it looked like a dream, the two of them performing together, creating something electric, soul-bending, unforgettable. But behind the scenes, it was a prison dressed in rhinestones. Ike wasn't just possessive, he was brutal. He controlled everything from her hairstyle to her bank account, her set list to her sanity. The beatings weren't a secret to those close to them. They were the price of survival. He turned love into punishment, stage lights into interrogation lamps, and their home into a cage where music became a weapon. She was forced to smile through broken ribs, sing through swollen lips, and thank him through tears. And yet, she stayed, because Ike convinced her no one else would ever want her, that she was nothing without him. For years, she believed it. Till one blood-smeared night in 1976, when she ran. No limo, no security, no plan. Just a gas station credit card, 36 cents, and the strength to leave everything behind. She slept in cheap motels, ate from vending machines, and rebuilt herself from scratch. And when the world finally learned the truth, it didn't come with a tabloid headline. It came with Tina, standing tall, telling her story with quiet fury. She refused to say his name for years, not out of fear, but because some names aren't worth repeating. When she finally did, it was with surgical precision, slicing through the lies that had protected him for decades. Ike Turner wasn't just her abuser. He was the ghost she outlived, the villain she refused to let win. And while the world still debated his legacy, Tina had already buried him, with silence, with survival, with every note she ever sang free from his shadow. They were both icons, Tina Turner and David Bowie, 2 blazing stars in the same sky, destined, it seemed, to one day collide in brilliance. And for a brief moment, it looked like that moment had come. The industry buzzed about a possible collaboration, something that could fuse rock and soul into pure magic. But all it took was one night to burn that dream to ash. It happened at a crowded party in the early 80s. Bowie, known for his flamboyance and edge, was holding court with his usual crowd. Glass in hand, eyes wild, words flying. The laughter was loud, the energy manic. Until suddenly, it wasn't. Because in the middle of a joke-stuffed rant about fame and music, Bowie turned his words on Tina. He didn't whisper. He didn't sugarcoat. He called her past with Ike character building. As if the bruises, the terror, the years of being caged and controlled were just some twisted rite of passage. The room froze. Tina did too. Her smile stayed, but behind it, her heart turned to ice. She didn't scream. She didn't slap. She just stared. Because for Tina, pain wasn't a punchline, and anyone who laughed at her survival didn't deserve her presence. Bowie tried to laugh it off, blamed the drink, said he meant no harm, but the damage was done. Whatever chance there was of a duet, a project, even a friendship, it vanished in that instant. She never addressed it publicly. She didn't need to. She simply never worked with him again. No matter how many producers begged, or how many fans dreamed of the pairing. In her world, trauma wasn't entertainment, and those who mocked it, no matter how legendary, were cut off with the kind of quiet finality only Tina could deliver. For her, the stage was sacred, and Bowie had made the fatal mistake of turning her scars into a joke. They were both royalty. Tina Turner, the Queen of Rock, and Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. But behind the dazzling crowns and thunderous ovations was a quiet rivalry that spanned decades. It wasn't a tabloid feud or a headline-grabbing brawl. It was colder than that. It was silence, tension, and the unspoken war between two women who refused to share a throne. In the late 60s, as Tina's power began to rise, insiders noticed a shift. Aretha, long established and deeply respected, began to see Tina as more than just another performer. She saw a threat. The industry whispered, and eventually the whispers had a voice. A producer once claimed Aretha dismissed Tina by saying, "She screams. I sing." That sentence cut deeper than any diss track. Tina heard it. She never clapped back in interviews. She didn't throw shade on stage. She let the music speak. But the message was clear. Two queens could not exist in the same kingdom without sparks. Award shows became battlegrounds of glances and silence. They shared the same rooms but never the same conversations. And when they were offered a joint performance in 1983, a moment that could have been iconic, Tina declined instantly. No drama, no press release, no scandal. Just a firm no. Because Tina Turner didn't fake friendships for cameras. She didn't do surface smiles. And she certainly didn't sing beside someone who questioned her worth. The truth is, Tina respected power, but she didn't bow to it. If Aretha expected her to play second to soul, Tina chose not to play at all. Their paths rarely crossed after that, and when they did, it was all ice disguised as class. No hugs, no warmth, just two forces of nature, side by side, pretending the world wasn't too small for both. And Tina? She knew exactly what she was doing. She didn't fight for space. She simply took it. By the mid-1980s, Madonna wasn't just a pop star. She was a cultural explosion. Leather, lace, wild hair, unapologetic sexuality. Critics said she was redefining womanhood on stage, but those who really knew the blueprint knew better. Tina Turner had already done it. She had danced in fire, sung through scars, and commanded stages when Madonna was still in school. And while Tina didn't mind being an inspiration, what she couldn't tolerate was erasure. The real rift didn't come from stolen style. It came from a lack of respect. In interviews, Madonna dismissed older artists, calling them outdated and irrelevant. Tina, then in her 40s and still topping charts, took that personally. She had fought her way out of hell, rebranded herself without anyone's help, and built a legacy on raw power and survival. To be called irrelevant wasn't shade, it was war. But Tina didn't do press feuds or petty sound bites. She let her art answer. The thunder of Private Dancer, the global tours, the sold-out arenas, every ticket sold was a reminder that she wasn't just relevant, she was untouchable. Yet behind the glam, the sting lingered. In 1992, both women attended a star-studded gala, all diamonds and flashing bulbs. They were inches apart, but they didn't speak. No greeting, no smile. Just a silence sharp enough to slice through silk. And that's how Tina operated. If you didn't respect her legacy, you were invisible. To her, Madonna wasn't a rival. She was a cautionary tale. A woman chasing rebellion without understanding the weight of the battles Tina had already won. Tina didn't need to outshine her. She had already outlasted her. And when the music fades and legends are measured not by volume but by endurance, Tina knew she would still be standing without ever needing to say a word. Phil Spector was a genius, no doubt about it. A madman in the studio, a legend behind the glass, a producer whose name alone could change careers overnight. So when he told Tina Turner she was the only female voice powerful enough for rock, she listened. He didn't flatter. He promised. Studio time, creative control, something groundbreaking that would catapult her into a new era. Tina believed him, because back then, Spector wasn't just a producer, he was a kingmaker. She rearranged her life for that session, canceled dates, rescheduled appearances, sharpened her voice like a blade. She was ready to unleash something no one had ever heard before. But then he vanished. No call, no explanation, no warning. He gave the session to Ronnie Spector instead, and Tina found out the way people shouldn't, through whispers in the hallway, through agents who shifted their eyes, through a silence that screamed betrayal. She was humiliated, not just as an artist, but as a woman who had believed in someone she thought respected her power. And the industry didn't care. They moved on. But Tina didn't forget. When asked about Phil Spector in later interviews, she didn't rant, she didn't tear him down. She did what hurt worse. She said nothing. That's how she dealt with those who crossed her. Silence was her revenge, her rebellion, her razor. Because in Tina's world, betrayal wasn't a scandal, it was a scar. And Spector had left one deeper than most. He didn't just waste her time. He treated her like a backup plan, a placeholder, a maybe. And that, to Tina Turner, was the one thing she couldn't forgive. He didn't just insult her talent, he insulted her presence. And when you do that to a woman who rose from the ashes of abuse and rebuilt herself from nothing, you don't get a second chance. You get erased. It was supposed to be magic. Tina Turner and Elton John, two titans of showmanship, sharing the stage for a high-profile TV special in the late 80s. Fans expected sparks, producers dreamed of ratings gold, and both legends walked in with reputations that lit up arenas. But what unfolded behind the scenes wasn't harmony. It was war. From the moment rehearsals began, tension crackled in the air. Tina was exacting, relentless, obsessed with precision. Every beat mattered. Every move had to snap like lightning. She didn't tolerate laziness or ego, and Elton didn't tolerate being told what to do. When she called him out for being unprepared, something exploded. He snapped, accusing her of acting like a general, saying she was impossible, controlling, too much. The room froze. What followed was chaos. Raised voices, slammed doors, a microphone stand shattered on the floor. They got through the performance. Yes, but just barely. On stage, they smiled, but their eyes never connected. Elton later admitted that rehearsing with Tina was volcanic. And Tina? She never addressed it in public, not once. But those closest to her knew. He was done. In her world, artistry was sacred, not a game. She didn't care how many awards you'd won or how famous you were. If you brought chaos instead of craft, the door slammed shut. She saw Elton as brilliant, yes, but brittle. A man who craved the spotlight more than he respected the work. She never invited him into her world again. And unlike others who tried to repair burned bridges with apologies or public praise, Elton never got the chance, because Tina Turner didn't feud. She cut. And when she did, there were no second acts. The curtain closed, and stayed closed for good. Tina Turner didn't carry grudges like baggage. She wore them like armor. Each betrayal, each silence, each name she never said out loud was a thread in the tapestry of her strength. She didn't need revenge tours or public takedowns. She didn't write diss tracks or drag her enemies through the mud. She outlasted them, outshone them, and in many cases, outlived them. The 6 names that haunted her past, names like Ike, Bowie, Aretha, Madonna, Spector, Elton, weren't just bitter memories. They were lessons carved into her legacy. She taught the world that silence can be louder than fury, that refusing to acknowledge someone's existence can hit harder than 1,000 headlines. Tina knew the cost of survival. She knew the pain of betrayal by those who claimed to love, to lift, to understand her. But she also knew power, real power, doesn't chase apologies. It doesn't beg for closure. It simply moves on. And that's exactly what she did. She walked through fire, through ridicule, through bruises and backroom betrayals, and came out the other side untouched by bitterness. She gave the world anthems to scream, moves to mimic, strength to cling to. But the one thing she never gave away was herself, not to those who mocked her pain, not to those who tried to steal her light, and certainly not to those who underestimated her. The grudges she held weren't fueled by spite. They were forged in survival. And while the world may never hear her speak their names, her silence will echo forever, louder than any beat she ever danced to. Because Tina Turner didn't just make music, she made boundaries. And once you crossed them, you didn't get a verse, a chorus, or a second chance. You got forgotten.